Good morning, Earth Science. It's a beautiful sunny day in upstate New York, and we're going to talk about the Sunpath in upstate New York. So to help me, I have Mr. Ducky. He's going to be our person looking at the sun today. And I'm going to use this glass bowl to represent the sky. And I'm going to label on this glass bowl. I'm going to start by labeling E for east, N for north, W for west, and S for south. Okay, so what's going to happen is that we already learned that the sun rises in the east, sets in the west. However, in New York State is at a latitude of 43 degrees-ish, 42 degrees. That means that we are not going to see the sun directly overhead. If you look up, you will never see the sun straight above. You will see the sun probably a little bit in the south. Where's the south? Here. You'll see the sun a little bit in the south. Okay? So what's going to happen? We're going to draw 3 sun paths for December 21st, March 21st, and June 21st. Why am I not drawing September 21st? Well, because the sun path for September 21st, fall equinox, is the same as the spring equinox. They're the same path, same exact thing. Let's do that one first because that one's easier. That one, we have a sun that starts out straight directly over the E. It rises over the E. It comes over here to the south. Now to the south, I mean that it's in the southern part of my glass bowl. I'm going to put a sun here that represents the sun where it's at noon. And then sets straight directly across the west. So it kind of looks like that. In the summer, right now, it's May. May means that it's the sun is no longer rising directly east. It's rising a little bit of north due east. Still comes above, still is in the southern quadrant of the sky. And I know that the sun is in the south in New York State because the tilt of the earth is pointed towards the sun, meaning that we're always going to see the sun towards the south in the northern hemisphere, unless we were at the Tropic of Cancer, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. And this sun path right here that I drew my sun rising slightly north of due east, that's going to be labeled June 21st. That's my summer solstice. And then last one, December, as you can guess, is going to be south of due east, rise south of due east. Now, December sun is going to be very, very low in the sky. It's going to be really super low in the sky. If Mr. Ducky were looking at the sun, he would see the sun almost a little bit above the horizon, even at noon. And that's because the earth is tilted away from the sun in December. It's tilted away from the sun in winter. Now, what does that mean in terms of sunlight? Well, that means that we're going to get more sunlight in the summer, obviously, because the sun is higher in the sky. And also the angle of insolation means the amount of sunlight we're getting. It's not insolation with a U, it's insolation with an O. The angle of insolation is greater, meaning that 90 degrees would be straight above, okay? Angle of insolation in New York State is going to be like maybe at 60 degrees at most. That means that we're getting that much sun. But in December, we're going to get the sun is going to be a little bit above the horizon. So the angle is going to be much less. We're going to get much less sun, much less intensity of sun, and fewer hours of daylight in December. In fact, sometimes the sun rises around 8 o'clock-ish, which is pretty late in New York State, and it sets around 4 to 5 p.m. So pretty late. Pretty early. But in the summer, and right now in May, we're starting to notice that the sun is rising earlier than 6, so even I think it was this morning, maybe 5:59, 5:50-ish, and it's now setting after 8 p.m., which means that you get a beautiful 16-hour day, which I'm looking forward to. That means that people can start gardening. All right, what does this look like on paper? Well, I'm going to show you what this looks like on paper. Again, you have something like this in your worksheet, which is the ground. You have something like this, which represents the sky. And then you label it east, south, west, north. Remember, never eat soggy waffles to remember these. You have a little person in the middle. And in New York State, we're going to have the sun rising directly above the east, setting directly west when it's the equinox, which is going to look like that. In December, it's going to look like that. And this is on part 3 of your worksheet. And then, whoops, I had to draw this guy a little lopsided because I don't want you to think that it's directly above. Directly overhead would be this imaginary line that I'm going to just put in so you can picture. The sun never is directly overhead in New York State. So this is New York State, which represents pretty much any location in the northern hemisphere except for the Tropic of Cancer and anything between the Tropic of Cancer and the equator. Let's do that really quickly here. Let's do the Tropic of Cancer. Try to erase this. What's going to happen in the Tropic of Cancer is that on June 21st, instead of the sun being here, which is slightly still in the southern quadrant of the sky, it's going to be directly above because the Tropic of Cancer happens to be at 23.5 degrees latitude. And that kind of evens out. That's the tilt of the Earth, and that evens out with when the Earth is tilted completely towards the sun. There's going to be a place on the Earth that receives equal amount of daylight. And that place is the Tropic of Cancer. So in the Tropic of Cancer, we're going to have the sun directly above on June 21st. And then for the other months of the year, whoops, I should have drawn this a little bit like that. Actually, it rises a little bit north of due east and sets a little bit north of due west, but that's okay. I can fix it right here. For the equinox, it's going to be something like this. It's still going to be in the southern quadrant, but rising directly east, setting directly west. And for December, it's going to be like that. The only thing that changes with these 3 curves is that they're kind of shifted northward so that at June 21st, the sun is directly overhead. In fact, we call that a 90-degree angle, in case you were wondering. So that's Tropic of Cancer, which on Earth, if you have a diagram of the Earth like this, you have the equator, which is 0 degrees, and you have 2 tropics at 23.5 degrees latitude. This is north. And this is 23.5 degrees south. Boom! All right, let's keep rolling. For the southern hemisphere, what is it going to look like? Exactly the opposite. So for any location in the southern hemisphere that's below 23.5 degrees, 23.5 degrees south, you're going to get something exactly like this, but flip-flopped, so the sun is up here northwards. So we have never eat soggy waffles, and we're gonna get something like this, and this. I'm going more quickly now because the concepts are the same, but this right here, this shorter curve, represents June 21st. June 21st in the southern hemisphere is their winter, therefore the sun is lower in the sky. This middle curve represents the equinoxes, which is either March or September 21st, or ish, as I explained in another video. And this one right here, that it rises slightly south of due east and sets slightly south of due west, that's going to be December 21st, which is their solstice, which is their summer solstice. So I'm going to write here summer, that should have a question mark. It is summer in the southern hemisphere. All right. Okay, so what does the Tropic of Capricorn look like, which is the other tropic? It looks exactly like this, but again, shifted northward, so that we have never eat soggy waffles, so that we have the highest point in the sky is going to be December 21st. It's going to be directly above December 21st. And then we have this actually should, I keep trying it directly. It should be directly a little bit like that, rising a little bit south of due east and setting south of due west. And then we have the equinox, which does rise exactly east, sets directly west, and little June 21st, which actually represents the winter. So again, these 2 locations, 23.5 degrees south, 23.5 degrees north, that represents places where the sun can be seen directly overhead. In another video, I'll explain what that means with shadows, and I'll have a funny story about you about a shadow in a well in Egypt. All right, I'll see you later, Earth Science. If you have any questions, join us at Zoom or email me at cnovice